Good morning, good afternoon, however this may be finding you. My name is Shay Jane from Waste It Limited. This is Mind in Your Business podcast. Today we are joined with Myles. Myles, could you introduce yourself, please?
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Shay. So my company is Murray Stays Limited. We're a serviced accommodation provider or short-let property management company based in the south of England. We provide serviced accommodation and properties available for short lets to a variety of people. We deal with leisure travelers, so tourists, booking through places like Airbnb and booking.com, but that only forms about 40% of our business, and a large amount of our business comes from companies and insurers, housing providers booking directly with us. So essentially people can book our properties for periods of several nights, or they can book for months, even years at a time. And we provide full servicing of the properties. So that includes housekeeping, providing consumables. We cover all the bills. So anyone can just book, arrive, and start living in the property hassle-free, essentially.
Sounds quite ideal. So what you said earlier as well about the several years, someone has been there for 7 years. What's the difference between renting a property and going with someone like yourself? I guess the perks of that is obviously how you take care of everything.
Yeah, so we work with a lot of different markets, different guest types. So traditionally, people would think of us as sort of Airbnb. But as I mentioned, we're only about half or less of our business comes through those sorts of websites. A lot of our clients now are insurance companies, housing providers, people booking for temporary accommodation, either because they've had some issues with their current home, repairs, remedial works, things like that. Usually they will book with us for a period of weeks or a month initially. And then once the scope of works is known on their place and it becomes apparent that they need to stay somewhere for a period of years, then they will extend potentially a month at a time. In one case, we've had someone extend just for a full 2.5-year period.
Oh, perfect. That's what you want, isn't it?
Yeah, that's our best booking, really. They continue paying on a nightly basis. So this property in question, it's a 2-bedroom in London. They're paying around £200 a night. So it's about £6,000 a month. The usual rental price on that is about £2,500. Obviously, there's some additional costs such as cleaning and bills and things, but we take care of everything for them. So it's essentially a service that we provide for people that don't want to enter into a tenancy agreement and all the obligations that come with that, have all the reference checks, things like that. And again, that could be as simple as someone visiting London for a week on holiday, or it could be someone traveling for work, or they're on a project for 4 weeks. They don't want to have to go and enter into a tenancy agreement in an apartment. They can't afford a hotel because that would be astronomical. So they come to someone like us.
Oh, so it works out cheaper than the hotel as well, most
Yeah,
of the time.
absolutely. So, and it's comfort as well. So a hotel, you're going to have to eat in a restaurant every night. You're going to have to go to a laundrette potentially to do your washing. Our properties range from studios all the way through to 5-bedroom houses. So it's a lot more comfortable, especially if you're a family or a large group of people. It's a lot more economical and a lot more comfortable as well.
I fully agree with that. I know when I used to work away, when I was what I did before, I had an experience of staying in hotels. And again, when it comes to that, try and find something nice for dinner. Definitely, if you're trying to be healthy, you ain't got somewhere to cook. Breakfast, lunch, and dinner on the go, never ideal. So you end up working away. You're away from home anyway, so that makes everything a lot harder. So I know when we did the Airbnb route before, because that's all we knew. But something like what you're saying now, I think could be a game changer because we had our kitchen there. And you even have somewhere to sit and just chill out after a long day's work. So that definitely works out a lot better.
Yeah, exactly. McDonald's for breakfast, lunch and dinner, it gets old pretty
PTSD.
quick. I've done a fair bit of traveling myself. I used to work for a company called McKinsey. We're away quite a lot with clients on site. It's nice staying in nice hotels for a little while, but steak dinners do get old eventually. So yeah, we try and provide a home from home. I know it's a little bit cliche, but that's kind of what we're aiming to do. And yeah, that's pretty much our service that we offer.
With that then, going ahead, obviously, is it businesses you're looking for or even the short stays? What is your ideal sort of client that you really want to sort of reach out to?
Sure. So in terms of the guest side, as I said, we work with a variety of people and each property is suited to a different target market. So I've got some very high-end 2-bed units in Kensington that work really well with the kind of high net worth individual, someone wanting a high spec property if they're coming over here as a tourist, but also a lot of people traveling to Harley Street for medical procedures. They'll need 4 to 6 weeks to recover from those, and that kind of property suits them.
Oh, I didn't even
On
think
the
about
flip
that.
side, we've got some very budget properties that work really well with contractors. So, like you mentioned, traveling away for work, they're generally budget constrained and they're looking for somewhere a bit cheaper. They're a little less fussy on the amenities and the spec of the property. So those ones work really well for those types of guests. So in terms of an ideal booking, I mean, the year-long ones are fantastic.
Yeah, keeps it occupied, don't it?
Yeah, it keeps it occupied. It's good income for the owner because the difference between something being 80% occupied and 100% occupied actually makes a big difference to the bottom line. It's certainty, and logistically, it's really easy for my team to manage a year-long booking with the same guest. You can imagine if you do sort of 10 3-day bookings in a month, there's check-ins and check-outs. You wouldn't believe the amount of issues guests raise when they check into somewhere. And it's usually the same issues. We've usually already explained how to do things, but they don't read the instructions, and we field the same questions over and over again. So logistically, it can be a lot more challenging with multiple short stays. Um, Really, we just try and earn as much revenue as possible for our owners, and that tends to work out around the 10-day mark. So people coming for between 7 and 2 weeks, that's when you can still get the highest nightly rates whilst blending in a balance of occupancy and logistics.
What I'd like to touch on there is you say owners.
Yeah,
So could you explain how, because again, I know you have access to 70 properties, so they're not all yours under your belt. You're also sort of working with owners of the property. Is that
absolutely.
correct?
Yeah. So we've got approaching 70 properties now, and they're mostly across London and the surrounding areas. We do have a handful of properties in Lincoln, and we are actively expanding outside of London. But yeah, you're right. Unfortunately, I don't own 70 properties myself. We own a handful of them, and then we're doing what's known as rent to rent or lease
Okay.
arbitrage or lease to lease on a handful of them as well. So some of them we just give the owners a fixed rent no matter what happens, whether we have any bookings or not. Um, and then the other sort of 45, 50 properties, they're on what's known as just a management agreement. So
Okay.
that's where we just take a commission. So we've got a blend of different business models or structures within the service offering that we have.
Is this something that you would recommend to like landlords to sort of go from the usual rent thing? Because I know there's a big thing at the minute to do with like the laws with
Yeah, yeah.
landlords and with their own properties and issues. Like you could probably go into more detail than me about, but what I've been hearing is an absolute nightmare for landlords that are doing it themselves. So having someone to do that, but even doing what you're doing right now, could that be more beneficial than usual renting?
Yeah, absolutely. So we are essentially an alternative to standard residential letting, long-term letting. Um, Now, I can make most properties work under our model. Not every property. It needs to be of a certain standard. It's location dependent. But yeah, absolutely, we consider ourselves an alternative and a better alternative to long-term letting. Now, funnily enough, a lot of a lot of our guests, they are in need of housing, and because their main residence is unlivable, so
Oh,
there can be a little bit of stigma that we're taking houses away from the market that would be used, but actually, a lot of our guests they're using it as temporary accommodation because their place is
okay.
unlivable. Um, but yeah, landlords are a big client base of ours, and you're completely right. The residential letting sector has been absolutely hammered by the government, both in terms of legislation and in terms of sort of tax
Tax,
issues.
that's
Yeah,
another
so
thing I was
so
saying.
tax has been increased time and time again. It will continue to be increased. Landlords are viewed as a bit of a cash cow by the government. So we're seeing more and more landlords approach us purely on the financial side and wanting to achieve more income, which we can do for them. We can generate between 30 and 100% more for them each month than they would do otherwise. But it's not just the income and the financial side that people approach us for. It's the flexibility and the control. As I said, there's a lot of new legislation in place,
Mm.
the Renters' Rights Act, and yes, there's a lot of good stuff to come from that for tenant protections, but it's placing a lot of restrictions and a lot more demands on landlords and estate agents in terms of documentation, in terms of flexibility of the use of their property. Evictions are an absolute nightmare. I'm a landlord myself, and we've moved a lot of our properties over to this method, this short-term letting method, because I have complete control of the property. I don't need to worry about people not paying. I don't need to worry about evictions. There's still a lot of compliance involved, but that's where we as a company step in, and we try and offer a fully hands-off, stress-free experience for our landlords, taking care of all the compliance and everything end-to-end service. So I think it's a more attractive model for a property owner, and it's our preferred model.
Does sound a lot more ideal. I know with the stress that I've had a few people tell me about. I did a property sometime sort of a few months ago, and they had someone that their dad ended up having to move out, but the son stayed in. Caused absolute murder for a year straight. I think it cost them about 12 grand. Finally got rid, but then obviously the state of the property that was left because they were going out wrecked it, mate, and it just kept adding up. So that try and avoiding that with even the chance of like making more. Sounds like a no-brainer. So are you looking to work with more landlords now as well, like to grow the portfolio?
Absolutely, yeah. So landlords are a massive part of our client base. So any landlords that are interested, yeah, absolutely reach out to us. Even if they just want advice on how the service works, or if they're planning to try and self-manage and do it themselves, we're happy to have a conversation. Otherwise, property developers, builders, all those sorts of people.
Okay.
That's another area where we can step in and we can offer occupancy from day one. They don't have to worry about long-term void periods, things like that. And then people who are selling properties as well. So the sales market's really tough at the minute, especially down here, and properties are sitting vacant for 6 months, 12 months even.
That's a long time.
Yeah. So typically you wouldn't get a tenant in for that period of time because, again, the flexibility and control, it can be logistically very difficult. You have to go through a lot of effort to find the right tenant. Then you're trying to do viewings and sell the property. And if you think about it from a tenant's perspective, if you're looking to move into somewhere and they're telling you, by the way, it's for sale and it's going to be gone in hopefully 6 months or 4 months, you're probably not going to even bother moving in.
Sounds a bit like unreliable.
Exactly. So we can provide a really great service there because we can come in, rent the place, be super flexible around viewings in between guests, and hopefully earn some really good income
So
for
that's a
them.
really, really good concept, really. So working with estate agents, would that kind of work?
Yeah, agents are a really good partner for us, and we
Yeah.
work closely with a few agents. We can do on both on the letting side and the sales side. So for the sales where there's a vacant property, it's a no-brainer because we can bring some income in for the owner, and the agents can also earn a commission on that income as well.
Perfect.
For the letting side, obviously there's potential conflict because we're taking a property that was available for long-term lets through the agents, and we're actually using it for our own service, for service accommodation. But we always make sure that the agents are looked after, and we make sure that they have a share of our earnings as well to make it in line with what they would have earned had it stayed on for long-term letting.
Sounds like a good sort of safety net as well, in the sense of that at the end of the day, even if you are waiting them 6 months, you're going to be sort of saved as well, ain't you? From the sense of losing that time and covering the bills of waiting. I know someone now was telling me that the estate agents, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but some agents, they have a certain amount of time to sell your property and you can't give it to other people. Is
Yeah,
that
so
correct
most
as well?
agents will lock you in.
That's it, yeah, look, yeah.
Yeah, most agents will lock you in for at least 3 months, if not longer. And it's quite well known in the industry that what they'll do is they will overvalue your property to win the business. So if property's worth 250,000, they'll come in and say, "Hey, I can get you 300." To the unsuspecting owner, they'll go with whoever says the property's worth the most.
Got you.
But once they sign on that line and they're in for 3 to 6 months, suddenly there's no viewings at 300 grand, and they come back to you. We need to drop the price. We need to drop the price. And at that point, you're locked in. So yeah, it can prove a bit tricky.
See, I didn't know. So there's a bit of a trick there going on.
Oh yeah, I mean,
Oh.
I've been involved in a bit of property development stuff before,
Right, got you.
and when we're getting valuations from agents, we're always taking 10% off the top because it's a known thing. They'll overvalue your property.
Yeah,
so
that's a good thing to know, because someone they had that issue, like saying they're really low, like compared to what they were asking, and they even went a little bit higher. Do you know what I mean? Knowing, but oh man, when they told me the number, like massive drop.
Yeah,
So just silly
absolutely.
stuff, but yeah.
Some agents are more honest than others, but yeah, it's a known thing. They'll just tell you what you want to hear to sign into the contract. So there is an exclusivity period.
Yeah.
People are tied into. Yeah,
Gets you a little trapped.
Yeah, absolutely. So hopefully that's where we can step in, and if a place is empty,
I think it's a
yeah.
smart idea. Really keeps you busy. With the, I know you have a style like you said, studios like 5 bedrooms. Is there a certain type of property that's like the bread and butter that you really look out, and you would like a lot more to come in that you could push at this point in time as well? Have the people ready to use?
Again, it's a real mixture, and it depends on the target market. So our portfolio is actually pretty evenly spread, and that's not deliberate. That's just how it's grown as clients have approached me. But to be honest, for us as a company, the sort of 2, 3, 4 beds are the sweet spot for us. Studios and 1 beds can absolutely work, but what you're doing is you're constricting yourself to a certain market, a certain type of guest. So for corporate travelers, for business travelers, studios and 1 beds work really well. Studios less so, because a lot of the big names, the blue chip companies like Amazon, Google, and people, they have a policy that they won't take studios.
Oh,
So if
really?
you've got a studio, some of those big conglomerates and the big household names, they will not book a studio. So, but similarly, they don't need 3 and 4 beds, because often they're only sending one person away. So
Yeah.
they'll take a 1 bed, occasionally a 2 bed.
Would you ever have like a 5 bed and separate it in the sense of not splitting the floors in, but even like certain rooms, so it's more of a shared like
Yeah.
shared sort of situation?
So we don't do that through our service accommodation business. Logistically, it would be difficult because they'd be sharing facilities, but the people staying would be completely different, unrelated people.
Yeah.
So it'd be difficult to track who's causing what issues in the property. And also from a sort of safeguarding point of view, it'd probably work if it all got booked by lots of different contractors. But if I had a elderly woman or someone with children staying in one room, and I had some other people staying in others, there's issues around sort of safeguarding and protection there. So we don't do that through Murray Stays.
Yeah.
What we do have is a separate company, and that's focused on HMO rooms. So we
Okay. Yeah.
actually do take 5 bed properties and rent them out by the room, separate tenancies, all bills included. So that's how I actually sort of got started, is doing it the HMO space, and we still do that. But that business has now been dwarfed by what we're doing in Murray
Right.
Stays.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Because I know that HMOs, I've got a few popping up around me, so I know they're still a big thing. Would you say, or?
Absolutely, yeah. In terms of property strategies, I mean, standard buy to let is going to be your vanilla strategy. That's kind of the safest, most secure, hopefully, if a tenant pays their rent. Um, but the returns are the lowest. So people are looking at sort of 5 to 10%, sometimes a little bit higher in the north. If you want to increase your returns, then you'd be moving towards HMOs. A bit more regulation, compliance, administration, higher fire safety requirements, all that sort of stuff. So you need to be a bit more of a sophisticated property investor to be involved in that, or at least bring on a trusted agent to help you alongside with that.
Yeah, a lot of
And then the next sort of step up really is sort of the serviced accommodation, or potentially you're looking at things like supported living, or signing a long-term contract with a supported living provider like Serco or Mears and people like that.
Okay, so that's interesting. So, where you've gone into sort of like your own Murray Stays, you started with HMOs. What made you get into property in the first place? Is it something you always had and then sort of fell into the routine and it's grown?
Yeah, I mean, I remember watching Homes Under the Hammer
Oh,
since I
okay.
was sort of, I don't know, 8 or 9.
Yeah.
So I've always been interested in property. Um, got on the housing ladder relatively early with my now wife, and we built a small portfolio properties, and she was an estate agent at the time, so she was already involved in the property sector. She worked for a couple of high street agents, and then later worked with her brother with her own agency. um, and then at the time I was in the Air Force, actually, so we ended up going to Texas for a couple of years with the Air Force. She sort of left property behind, and when we came back, she wanted to get back into it. So I said, look, rather than going back to being an estate agent, why don't we start a company together? I sort of worked on the back office stuff. I built the website. I did all that kind of stuff, managed the bank accounts and things. And she did the kind of traditional estate agent work, doing the viewings, finding the tenants. So that's how we got into the HMO side. Obviously, we had experience being landlords anyway.
Yeah.
And then we slowly got involved in serviced accommodation, and we just much preferred the business model. We preferred the clientele. Um, yeah, that's sort of how we got
I
into it.
think you've been really smart there. Used your strengths, worked together there, and built something powerful, ain't you? So that's the good thing,
Yeah,
working together, really.
exactly. And we don't work together now.
Oh, okay.
So I've got a 3-year-old and another one due in about 6 weeks.
Oh,
So
congratulations.
we were lucky enough to the business grew to a size where
Yeah,
I could say, look, you step back
perfect.
and
Then you got
I'll manage things from here. It didn't help that we'd have arguments with each other in the office all the time, but
problem being around someone 24/7. I
that's
guess that
it.
can have
Yeah,
the
we're
thing.
very different. We're very different people, in a good way. I'm quite direct and quite matter of fact, and business is business, and we're at work. Let's work.
Yeah.
She wants to sit and have a cup of tea and have a coffee and have a chat and ask me how my day's going. To which I would say, we live with each other, you know exactly how it's going. But so yeah, it was interesting working with my wife, so closely. But now she's sort of looking after the kids
That's
and doing
perfect.
that
That's
side
a
of.
full-time job in itself, ain't it? And who
Absolutely,
better to
yeah.
do it?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'd
There we
fall to
go.
pieces if she wasn't around. She
Yeah.
goes away, and all I eat is ready meals and Cheerios.
Stay back at the McDonald's.
Yeah, exactly,
There we
exactly.
go. But no, that's good so like you had a right journey now, and it sort of got to where you want it. And obviously, do you still have massive plans with where you have it going, or are you sort of at a point where you're happy, or are you still looking to massively sort of make a difference in the growth?
So at the minute, and it's been a bit of a journey for me because I knew property relatively well, as we embarked on this, and I've worked as an analyst before. I know how to do financial analysis of companies, of businesses, and of property opportunities.
Oh,
So
wicked.
felt quite comfortable going into the property side of things. But as the business has grown, I'm now having to transition to being a business owner,
Yeah.
and a leader in that sense, and step away from the operations and step away from the actual property itself, and really learn and grow about how to scale a company, bring in staff, manage them, and make sure the company can work, at twice the size or 3 times the size as it was when it was just me and a couple people moving things along. So that's a new challenge, and we're at a point where you have to sort of grow in stages. So we're at a point where I'm trying to build myself out the business, or at least allow myself to focus on the strategy and the growth, and leave all the operations to the team. So I'm not getting those late night phone calls and dealing with emergency electricians at 6 p.m. So I'm scaling the team, and as part of that, there's a whole host of new challenges that come with that. Um, Realistically, we're looking to grow to 100, 150 properties, and that would just unlock more resource for me to allocate to new team members and new services and things like that. So
It's good that you've got the strategy for it, and the good thing about it as well, you're now working on the business, not in the business. So it means you have the sort of that time to then expand. And like you say, with a family, growing family as well, you're going to want that time to be around, and then you don't want your whole life to be thing. And I think that's the important thing with businesses, to have that mindset and goal and direction to go towards. Because at the end of the day, you can't do everything forever, can you? And then some people get stuck and trapped inside. So I think the fact that you've got a sort of the direction you're going in now, I think it's ideal, really. You've got the vision for the end goal,
yeah,
and it sounds like you're
absolutely.
right on the right path with it.
Otherwise, you just create yourself another job, and I think most business owners don't set out to just have a job. They set out to build a business for a reason, whether that's to increase their income or to increase their freedom and time, usually both. And it's very easy to fall into the trap of growing and just finding yourself trapped within your own business and not being able to enjoy sort of freedom and time that you set out for in the first place. So that's what we're aiming to do at the minute. I'm sort of still 1 foot in, 1 foot out of the day to day and working on the business. But yeah, that's definitely the direction we're going in. And yeah, I was very fortunate with my first came along. The business was a lot smaller, and I could take a lot of time out. But with the second was such a bigger business that there's a lot going on,
There's a
and
lot of responsibility for 70 properties.
exactly.
A
And
lot of things going on.
if you think about one property, one rental property, there's probably 2 or 3 issues a year that might come up. They might be minor, might be something major like a boiler replacement.
Yeah, every landlord's fear that one.
Yeah, so if you're thinking of 1, 2, 3 issues coming up with a property, times that by 70, you're now dealing with sort of 10 issues a month.
Yeah, it's a lot.
So, it's every other day we're coming into work and there's a leak or there's something's wrong.
Something, yeah.
So we're pretty good at solving problems quickly. Unfortunately, in the service accommodation industry, the revenue is high enough on the properties that we're able to pay the money and get people to fix things as soon as possible.
And that's a lot more beneficial for the clients that are staying in it as well. It's a
Exactly.
lot of time saved and stress.
And their expectations are so much higher as well. Internet is like a human right nowadays. So if someone's internet goes down,
It's the end of the world, isn't it?
yeah, exactly. So
Have you got advice for people out there that are looking to grow their business and get to that point where they can sort of step out from working the business and actually working on it to do the points where you're expanding it and putting the strategies in place to grow? What would you recommend?
I mean, the first thing you need to do is understand what your current position is, which sounds so simple, but myself included, it's amazing how many business owners out there, they have a general sense of how their business is doing, but when it gets down to the nitty-gritty numbers of profit and loss and things, they don't have a full handle of it. And that was myself as well. For a lot of time, we were growing so fast, and I was so consumed by making sure operations were going well that as long as there was money in the bank, I didn't really care about the numbers until it came to the year end when you do your financials. And then all those numbers on the piece of paper, you think, they don't really match up with what I'm seeing in the bank account. So that's the first step, is to look at what you're earning now, what your actual profit and loss is on a monthly basis. And then to get down to the foundational levels about how much does it cost you to run your business? What are your fixed overheads? What are your variable overheads? And how much it costs you to get new business. So, for instance, for your business, you're probably constrained by time. So you can get to a certain stage at which point you need to take someone else on.
Yeah.
So you need to work out, how much do I need to pay someone to take on how much more business? And then, as I said earlier about growing in steps, you sort of have to grow in steps. So you couldn't pay someone full time to take on one new job a year. You would have to say, right, I'm going to take someone on. This is going to be the overheads, which means I'm going to have to generate this much more business per year. And then once you know that, you can work out what you need to do to generate that much business.
So the data really again, following the data and understanding the data from sort of like the smallest expense to the biggest expense, and it sort of shows how much it costs to then grow.
Exactly. And you can do it sort of ballpark figures, and then you can get down into the detail. Ballpark figures usually are enough to make a strategy and a plan. And then the detailed numbers are more for sort of housekeeping and making sure that you're not paying for things you shouldn't be paying for.
Right, cutting things out as well.
Exactly, yeah. One of the things we did, for instance, is we looked at our average property value in terms of the money the company gets from it.
Yeah.
So then we know, right, if I'm hiring someone and they're going to cost me £4,000 a month, I need to take on this many more properties to pay their salary.
Makes sense.
And then on a very basic level, you can work out, okay, how many more properties is that person capable of managing? If I need to take on 10 properties to pay their salary, but they can manage 30, then that's a no-brainer.
Yeah, that sounds a lot
Yeah.
nicer.
Yeah, exactly.
Nice
So
window,
then it's my job to go out and get those 30 properties. So
yeah.
that's essentially it. You're working out like, how much does a client bring me? How many additional clients can we satisfy with the team we've got? And then how big does the team need to be to satisfy another 10 clients, 30 or 40 properties, and then structuring that team and working out, can you get there? As you get bigger, there's always more fat and more bolt-on services that get added, more subscriptions. We've now got an office for the first time in a couple of years.
That's good.
Which is fantastic, but that's an extra £1,000 a month overhead. So you've got to factor all this stuff in. But for someone looking to step out the business, first you've got to know where you are. Then you've got to plan where you want to be, or how big your company needs to be for you not to be involved. And then you just need to work out the pathway to do that.
Do you think as well, when it comes to growing your business, do you think you can ever grow the business to where you want to be by still working in it? Or do you think you have to make that thing where you do let go? 'Cause some people struggle with the trust. For me, it could be letting someone drive the tipper. Or like, do you know what I mean? Getting that new person that I didn't know and having that sort of risk. Because again, I know something goes wrong with that tipper, like it was out for 10 weeks, the cost of it then can add on. So it's like, again, having that sort of trust. But then how do you sort of like calculate that in a sense? What would be your advice on that?
Yeah. So, I mean, you're going to get these people that love doing the job
Mm.
and want to be in the business all the time, and that's great. But in order to really grow your business, you need to be working on it, as you said. You can't be doing the day to day, at least not all the time. Trusting other people to do the job is a massive challenge. I have a saying that people are the problem, but they're also the solution. So
Oh,
hiring staff, honestly, has been one of the biggest challenges for me. I've overcome a lot of challenges in my life, but hiring staff is a really interesting one because it's completely outside of your control in a sense. You're dealing with other people. There's definitely ways to maximize the potential you can get out of people and to improve hiring solutions and make sure you're doing things the right way. But ultimately, you're reliant on other people, and this whole thing about trusting them to do the job as good as you is something you have to let go of a little bit. You have to accept people aren't going to do things the way you would do them, and they never will because they're not the business owner, and they're not going to do them as well as you would do them either. So I still see things all the time where I think I have to grit my teeth. And what I'm trying to do now, we've hired a manager, is give all the feedback to them to pass down to the team and to try and do it in a structured way once a week, twice a week in my meetings with my management rather than 20 times a day sending
yeah,
off 1,000
picking things.
messages.
Yeah.
Yeah, don't do it like this, don't do it like this.
Have you noticed a big difference by doing that method as well? Does that make things a lot easier and smoother?
It's freed up a lot of my time.
Oh,
Because previously I would see something, I'd point it out to the team, and then I would sort of say, let's hop on a call and I can talk you through it and explain my thought process.
yeah,
And those calls, they only take 15 minutes or so, but they were happening multiple times a day,
and adding
and it
up.
was taking my attention away from what I was doing. So now we've got the manager in house. Um, yeah, I can bite my tongue a bit more and save it up for the once or twice meeting that I have with the manager, and I can pass it down in a structured way that's then followed up as well the next week.
I think that will settle a bit better with the people as well, because I've noticed as well when you obviously you're proper telling someone again and again, you don't want to in a bad way, because you want them to not only learn but better for them, speed their process up, and just make the life easier after time. But again, sometimes I feel like when you're constantly one to one with them, it's sometimes that I think they take it too much.
Yeah, it
And so
can
having
feel
that
like,
manager, I think that can definitely sort of lighten the blow in the sense of doing something. It's not that they're doing something wrong, but at the same time, it's like you're trying to sort of say they're not right, if that makes sense.
yeah, and it can
So
definitely feel like I even sort of caught myself sometimes. I thought, oh, this is the third or fourth time I've had a conversation with this person this week. So for them, it must feel like they're being bombarded with negative. I always try and sandwich it with some positives, but they could feel like, oh, all he ever does is moan at me. Was where, yeah, you're right. If you can
yeah,
structure it, so my manager has a one-to-one with them once a week, and they can just deliver everything in one go, and they can do it in a formal way and they can record it. A lot of the issues I think I had with my staff was I'd see something, I'd ping them a message on Slack, which is our internal communication tool.
okay,
We'd have a call, we'd talk over it, and then that's the only record there'd be of it. So
yeah,
2 or 3 weeks later, when they're making the same mistake, it's kind of like I'm saying, "Remember, we talked about this." They're saying, "Not really." Whereas now we can do things in a
structure and it's
structured way.
tracked.
We've
Yeah.
got meeting records saved, so we can flick back through and things.
That's good. That helps a lot as well to go back over here. I think I've definitely noticed the struggles with that, and it's like, and you don't that feeling of like, "Oh, I don't want to keep feeling like," and you said, then you end up giving them a few good compliments that just out of the blue, and they probably think, oh, "What's that for?" The littlest things, but you're just trying to like even out the grounds. But
Exactly,
it's
yeah.
hard. I do think like again employing people and managing people, and that I think if you can get that right, it definitely again the whole thing with an employee, it changes the game,
Yeah.
the workspace makes things flow a lot better. But I'm still there trying to figure out the little tricks to that
Yeah,
myself.
and there's a chap, I believe he's called Lucky Palmer, or Palmer Lucky, I'm not sure. He's one of these tech CEOs from San Francisco. He runs a company called Anduril, and he said, look, if you want to be a software engineer or if you want to be a builder, if that's what you want to do, if you enjoy doing that job, do not do not start a company as a software engineering company or a building company, because sooner or later you won't be doing the job. all you'll be doing is managing the people.
Right.
That's what the business owners do.
Yeah.
So I think once you grow to your business to a certain size, eventually it just becomes about people, whether that's your clients or whether that's your staff.
Mm.
You're going to stop doing the thing you started
Yeah.
with, and you're going to just be managing the people and managing the business and managing the clients. And that is an interesting challenge in and of itself, but you just need to be aware that that's coming, and that's what being a business owner is.
Look forward to it.
Yeah, and take pleasure in growing the company and structuring the company in a certain way, and hopefully the rewards that pays off.
Yeah, I definitely think, like I say, if you can crack that again, the set of the goals, a good team around you, take you to a lot of good places. Do you know what I mean? So get that right. Definitely a goal of mine that I'm working on at the minute, because I've just took on 2 new people this week, and it's again trying to like get them to do things. Even when you're trying to train them up, busy days, stuff like that, certain things you want to touch on, you don't get time for, and it's again learning time management to even just for managing people. It's very, very interesting, and I'm enjoying the sort of journey of it, but I definitely need a lot more sort of pointers and practice, because there's so much more that I should be covering. But like I say, it's work in progress. But I just find it interesting for yourself. Have you got many people working with you?
So we've got 3 people in the UK, and then we've got about 3 or 4 people who work remotely, who handle the back
Perfect.
office, all the stuff that can be done remotely, guest comms, dealing with emails, finances, that's all done remotely. But yeah, certainly in the UK, you definitely have to take those hires seriously. One thing I've learned is to spend a lot of time thinking about who you're going to be hiring. I'm quite trusting, and I made a few quick hires early on, and it turned out to be a mistake. Recently, as we've made the hiring process much more rigorous and been a lot more selective, it's really paid dividends in the performance we're getting from the people. One thing we've had to do, though, is really professionalize the way we treat our people. So previously, I could just hire someone. Hello, mate. Yep, come into the office this day. Yep, okay, here's the work, etc., etc. Whereas now I'm making an effort to put in a lot of things to make their experience with the company a lot more professional. So I'm showing them, giving them exposure to our business plan. I'm giving them exposure to the direction I want the business to go in. I'm giving
So include them a bit more.
yeah, exactly. And I'm giving our sort of top performers development plans. So that basically tells them what their journey in the company is going to be like for the next 12 months, how they're going to be rewarded, and how that enables my business plan to succeed. So it's about including them. It's about giving them a professional development pathway as well. So they're not just turning up to work sort of aimlessly. I've got to go in, answer these emails, and do these tasks. There's a bigger picture that they're working towards as well, and that hopefully they can grow and develop themselves up by doing that
That's
as
quite
well.
a good concept to have, because again, it sort of shows that there is more potential to where they are now, and the growth. I do believe if you get in with a business at the right time as well, you grow with it. But again, if you're in the early doors, you know what I mean, the opportunities when it can expand and you know the business throughout, gives you the opportunity to have them higher roles down the line. So I've seen it with a couple of sort of startup businesses where they are. So like one of my good mates, I know that he's done quite well, and they've had people from the start to where they are now, and they've obviously excelled through the roles, because again, as they're growing, they get there quicker, and I think that works out a lot better. And if you stay with the business at that point and you're growing with them, you can also add your own inputs with it, and that can help a lot and make you a bit more of the team. So it's definitely something as well that I'm hopefully going to apply with the people that I get on as well. I'm definitely going to take note from that.
Yeah,
I think it's
definitely.
good.
And it's about giving them something, that Sunday night, Monday morning feeling of, I've got to get up and go to work.
Yeah.
It's about trying to get rid of that and getting their buy-in to the company, giving them a reason to come to work, sort of that sense of fulfillment.
Yeah, looking forward to it look forward to a Monday.
Look, ultimately, people go to work to get paid.
Yeah.
That's pretty much all there is to it. But there's a lot of people that leave jobs because they're not fulfilled, and they go to a competitor, and that's what I'm sort of trying to avoid. I'm trying to keep my staff happy and engaged, and
That's
the more fulfilled and
good thing to
engaged they
do.
are, the better they'll perform, and the more they'll care, and the longer they'll work.
That's another thing as well. If they care about what they're doing as well, you're going to get a lot better outcome out of it as well. Because again, if you don't care and they're just there to tick a box, things get missed, things get left, and then it's just like
Yeah,
you're still there
exactly.
picking up the pieces, and you're doing the extra work that you're trying to solve.
Yeah, and I went through a period of hiring people like that. Trying to get the cheapest person, trying to outsource things that we've now brought in house. And look, there's a place for it, but like you said, I found myself doing half of their job for them. 5 o'clock on the dot, they were out the office or clocking off.
Yeah.
So I've changed the strategy this year and decided, look, we're going to pay more. We're going to spend more time thinking who we're hiring, and so far it's working.
I'm glad.
So
Yeah.
yeah.
It definitely sounds like the steps in the right direction as well. Because it's again, even for the employee, it sounds a lot more sort of like safer, and you know what I mean. Gives that thing. Going off a bit of topic here, I just want to touch back on something you said before with Texas.
Yeah.
Now, are we able to go into that a bit?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
So,
sure.
obviously, you went to Texas for 3 years
Yeah.
with your wife. What was that all made of?
So I was in the Air Force for 8 years. From Lincolnshire originally, and that's sort of the home of the Royal Air Force. So I was always exposed to the RAF. I came down to London for university. Went to Imperial College London and became a geologist. Did a bit of work there and found myself in the city in the end. Excel, PowerPoint, and sort of always thought about joining the Air Force. So I put my application in at the last minute when I was 25. The wife wasn't too happy when the letter came through the door, and she rang me and said, "Is there anything you need to tell me?" And I flat out
Cool.
denied everything. Don't know what you're talking about. She said, "Oh, you haven't applied to the military recently." So yeah, that caught me out. But yeah, joined the Air Force in 2016 and did 8 years there.
Yes.
Trained as a fast jet pilot.
Yeah.
So. I flew jets for a few years, mostly in the States. So I did their fast jet training over there in Texas.
How did you find that challenging?
Yeah, it was very, very difficult. Very demanding, both mentally and physically. Long hours, lots and lots of learning, and then having to perform as well. I would describe training as like doing your driving test every day, because there's someone sat
watching you.
behind you and then dissecting every decision.
Make sure you're checking your mirrors.
Yeah, essentially. So yeah, I did 2 years of training out there. So it's very hard work, but very, very rewarding, extremely rewarding, and very different to what I do now. Because,
completely different.
But almost in a sense easier, because I had complete control of the outcome.
Okay.
So I was the only person in that cockpit.
Yeah.
So if there were mistakes that were being made, they were my mistakes. If there were successes, they were my successes. If there was a problem that needed to be solved, I could solve it. It's very rare that you were being influenced, or you were relying on other people to solve a problem. You had direct control of the situation in most cases. Now, coming out to running a business, you're beholden to members of the public who are the guests.
Yeah.
You're beholden to your clients. Things go wrong at properties that you can't go in and fix with your bare hands. You can't just fix it yourself. You have to get plumbers, electricians, energy companies to come out and fix things.
You get other skills of others.
Yeah, we do work with platforms like Airbnb, Booking.com. We have to negotiate a way around their policies. So now I'm in a situation where I've gone from the only thing I need to worry about is me and my actions to
spiderweb of things.
Yeah, exactly. And sometimes being completely at the sort of behest of an organization that you've got no control over. So I was talking to you today about, we've got no electricity in a property. We have to get the energy company to come out, and we're just reliant on them coming out.
You're waiting.
I can't throw money at the situation. I can't pay £500 and get a private electrician round. I just have to wait on them. And that's incredibly frustrating, to just have no control of a situation. But that's the real world, unfortunately.
I guess that is a massive difference. But is there stuff you've taken from that experience that you've applied to what you do now that you think is really powerful, in the sense that it's a sort of hidden benefit?
Absolutely, yeah. So transferable skills, I mean, they're all over the place. I guess the first one is just dealing with high pressure, high stress environments. I've been through a lot of high pressure, high stress environments.
Is it the G-force?
Yeah, so operating at sort of like 8G and things, and having to, operate multiple switches and talk on the radio at the same time, all that sort of thing.
Multitask.
Yeah, so multitasking and operating in high pressure and high stress environments. So I don't get stressed out too easily.
That's good.
Standards in general of work, we in the military, and especially in the fast jet world, they are meticulous with the level of detail they will go into things.
Okay.
So they will pick you up for being 1 mile an hour off speed when you're traveling at 400 miles an hour. They'll review the videos and say, look, you're at 401 there, you should have been at 400. Or you're at 35,025 feet, you should have been at 35,000 feet. So they pick you up on all the details, even down to your emailing, your writing of documents, following checklists. Everything has to be done perfectly. And I sort of take that through in my expectations, both for myself and for my staff. And it can cause issues for me, and I have to learn to let go, like we were talking about earlier with a business owner, letting go a little bit. If I see a badly formatted email going out to a client, it winds me up, or like capital letters missing, things like that. So that level of detail, I mean, in basic training, you have to have inspections of your room every morning at 5 a.m. Your bed has to be perfectly non-creased. All your shirts are hanging in a certain order. So that sort of meticulous level of detail that comes with being in the military, something I've brought forward as well.
So it's like the discipline is just obviously on a different
Yeah.
level.
Yeah.
But that's something you've ended up, you keep going forward. I'm
Yeah.
I'm listening to that thinking I need a bit,
I
of that even
mean,
like with the routine. But
I don't make my bed now,
oh
and I'm not the tidiest person.
no,
So yeah, that discipline has not followed me through, but discipline in terms of getting the job done and
yeah,
doing it to the standard that's expected. And that's something in my business plan, is sort of forefront of my business plan at the minute, is about being excellent in everything we do. I think the way you do the little things feeds through into the big things, and
yeah,
that's why
definitely.
a lot of the times, in basic training, you're being shouted at or pulled up because there's a crease in your shirt,
Oh.
and you think, why are we bothering? Every 99%
Yeah,
of stuff is perfect, but the reason is because the small mistakes can get into big mistakes, and that can be life threatening in flying
yeah,
jets.
of course, yeah.
And that sort of approach I try to take forward into the business. As a business owner, you have to let certain fires burn, and you have to let certain things go wrong in order to let other things go correctly. There's only so many hours in a day, but if we can aim for that excellence, then hopefully we could achieve a really good standard.
No, I think you will. Like, as simple as what you said with like the spellings of like emails and that. I've noticed that people do pick up on these things, and I think it does separate you from, you know what I mean, being up here and there.
Yeah,
Even if, like, sometimes when I'm putting in an address, I might not want to add like the postcard thing. It don't really matter. Realistically, these little things do.
yeah,
Definitely working with big companies that are used to it and they want that to see that can make a massive difference. So again, having that discipline and again that level of excellence that you're aiming for, like again, I'm going to take away from that and feel like I could even up my game with just being a bit more disciplined on the little things
yeah.
because they
Especially
do make a difference.
if the types of clients you're going for are the
Mm.
big clients, are the corporate clients, the professional clients. For me, if I'm going for the developers or the really high net worth individuals who have got a portfolio of high spec properties, these guys are used to a certain service, standard of service, and that impression of you starts from the very beginning. So, like you said, your communication, your emails, the documentation you've got, your branding, everything like that, it all feeds through. And there's, we both probably got hundreds or thousands of competitors,
Oh,
and
yeah.
they're going to use those early signs just to sift through. Sift through people and narrow down the shortlist. So if you're failing, if your website's got spelling mistakes on it, um, if your emails have got missing capital letters or bad formatting, it's all going to just give a bad image, really. So don't. These are things we can control. So let's get those things under control, and then
I really do think what you've just touched on there is so important and is so looked past. Like even like just listening it, sitting here now, like I generally do like for any like startup business, even businesses that are at a higher level as well. Like, how important that is. Like honestly, it is the way to look at it. Because even like myself, trying to get new customers that again now trying to get into the bigger sites and stuff like that, you've got to be competing to the level above everyone else doing. Because you're right, there is thousands of people doing the same thing. God don't. Every time we're driving in and out of London, you're seeing the other firms. You know what I mean? So all these little things massively make a difference to how you perform in your business.
absolutely, yeah, it helps you win the clients, but it also helps you charge a higher price as well. So you know, anyone can lower their price and compete on price, but
Yeah.
you've got to differentiate your service from other people. Look, if you're happy to operate in that part of the market where you're competing on price and that's your denominator and differentiator, and that's the clients you want are the clients that are concerned about price and that's how you win, then fine. But short term, it can definitely, you know, and we did it when we first started. We were the cheapest
Mm.
people out there. I was a one-man band. I could afford to be.
Yeah.
Um, Now we're having to up our prices, but that means we have to up our game a little bit. Um, but it also enables us to do more as well. So it enables me to offer services to my clients that I previously wasn't be able to offer when I started. So I've got various products and softwares that I now integrate into my business,
Okay.
which hopefully gives my clients' properties a bit of an edge over competitive
So
properties.
when you say like software, is that something you've developed yourself, or is that something that you sort of integrated?
No, it's something that's off the shelf. So
Okay.
as with any business, any
Yeah.
industry, there's loads of sort of softwares you can use to
Hmm.
move your business forward. And most of this focuses around kind of market research and positioning. So we've recently signed up for some software that monitors our listing performance on sites such as Airbnb, tells us what it thinks we're doing wrong, what we think we're doing well, how we can improve that. And just having that insight every week, knowing, right, we were on page 2 last week, now we're on page 1, 10th place. Okay, now we're on page 1, 5th place. Just being able to have that analytics, which generally, I mean, it sounds simple, but the subscription is, you know, not much, a few £100 a month.
Mm.
But then I have to hire someone to go and implement all the changes,
Yeah.
report back to me, use the software. So it actually works out to be, you know, a reasonable expense, but because the business has grown, I can reinvest in the business and bring on
Yeah.
these additional services.
That's really good, like stuff like that as well. Like again, because it makes your customers again even be able to. It makes it easy for them to see as well,
Yeah,
and know how they're doing, where they're at. Because again, stuff for majority of people, they don't want to be doing that sort of stuff either.
yeah,
And you've supplied it for, yeah. That's good.
exactly.
I like
And
it.
we're going to try and issue all this information to the clients. So at the minute, the clients get a monthly statement, and they can view how the properties are performing in an owner portal that they log into. But I'm going to try and get them a monthly newsletter or monthly analysis on their property, compare it against previous months, competitors, previous years, give them some more information so that they feel like they're getting more from our services.
No,
So
it's really good. You're really thinking for the like not only just like I mean the customer, the owner, everything going in. You're really building something there where it's everyone's winning from all points of view, from the service they're receiving and the sort of partners that you're having with this for the owners. It's really I like what you built there. To be fair, so I've heard of like the structure that you've done before, but what the way you're thinking of it and doing it seems a lot more like again going for that professional, supportive, and also competing with the people that I have been doing it as well. So I want to take from I really there's a lot we've spoke about now that I think look back on my own business, think what can I do as well to improve mine? Do you know what I
yeah.
mean? And apply to it.
And it's hard sometimes because every minute that you spend designing brochures and making your branding correct and designing an email template, it's time you're not spent earning money.
Yeah.
You don't get paid for that stuff immediately, or it's not measurable. And no client's ever going to come to you and go, Shay, you had a competitor, but your email was really well written, so that's why I went. You know, they
Yeah.
might say, look, you looked a lot more professional, but
Mm.
generally you'll never really know what the return of investment is on this stuff, and
Yeah.
it's really hard to pull yourself out of the day to day to spend time on this. I mean, I'll admit I do a lot of it in the evenings or the mornings outside of working hours when I can get away with it. Um, but yeah, it's important, and it's the high value stuff. It doesn't feel high value, but it's, you know, setting up all this this surrounding
It's an
stuff is
investment,
important.
ain't
Yeah,
it? You're investing in the business as much as like again, it's again investing your time as such. But again, I generally like hearing that out loud. You can hear the potential of every like again little thing, making sure you're doing it, and even looking at the sort of competitor and see what you can better from that, and then adjusting to it. Do you know what I mean? I've really really taken from that. One thing I like to do just before we sort of wrap up the podcast, I like to ask all guests, in your mind, what is your version of success? What would you say success is to you?
so for me, I would like to build a business that I can step away from, that functions without me in it, and that is sizable enough to generate security and freedom for my family. So a business that's got a large enough amount of revenue, large enough client base that it's going to be there in the next 5 years, 10 years. when we were a small business, it was great because things were very flexible. I could choose when not to work to an extent. But we were quite exposed in the sense that I only had a handful of clients, handful of properties. If one of them walked away, half my income might have been gone. Um, Now we're a lot more diverse. And although there's a lot more staff and logistics and administration to be dealing with, there's a lot more security in the size of the business. If a client walks away, it doesn't affect us. If a property disappears, it doesn't affect us so much. And I want to get to a stage where we've grown to where I can step away and that security exists for years to come. So,
So security.
security, not having to worry about where the next paycheck might come from. I'm not really there at the minute, but in 6 months, in a year, in 2 years, will I still be earning money in 2 years? As a small business owner, you never know. When things are good, they're good, but
Anything can happen.
everybody has bad months. So I'd like to get to a stage where, I know that it's going to take years for the business to fail because and for no one to step in, basically.
I think that's perfect. Like I say, security is a massive thing. Definitely in this day and age, with everything changing so rapidly quick. Something we didn't touch on is like the AI and things like that. But yes, I definitely agree. Security and sort of fighting for the family, making sure that you got that safety net as well, and then the freedom to sort of venture away from the business and enjoy your, spare time now with the family and add more adventures to what you
Absolutely,
can
yeah.
do. Well, thank you very much, Miles. I really appreciate you coming on the podcast. I hope you had a good time and enjoyed the experience. And looking forward to catching up and hopefully doing a bit more business together in the future.
Sounds good. Thanks, Shay.
Thank you very much.
Cheers.
Cheers.